Kia ora koutou. I was going to shoot this. I've been up in the rainforest, in the rain, funnily enough, and I was going to shoot this video up there, but the battery had died, so I'm kind of on the way back now. I was just stopped off at a beauty spot. For those of you who don't know what a beauty spot is, it's where you go to dump your old television, and is that a bit cynical? And I thought I'd shoot it here. Because I get a lot of people that follow my videos who don't speak English, bless them. English is a second language, and they particularly like the kind of nature scenes and things that I shoot. So I try and do the best of both worlds and give you a nice view while we talk about retroactive jealousy. Now, bear in mind that my camera, I'm known for having a shaky camera and poor production values, but it's going to be even more shaky because I'm in my car and I have suspended the the phone, which is my camera, by a clothes peg from the sun visor, so it's hanging down. Now I'm just going to interrupt myself to show you a bit of native wildlife. That is a fantail, and they do an amazing display and fan their tails, funnily enough, which I think actually is a way of kind of saying go away, but it's rather beautiful, and they're a lovely song as well, which always sounds to me like there's a song T for two and two for tea. So yeah, fantastic. A bit of nature, a bit of bonus nature, and nature is a good thing if you have retroactive jealousy, because you need to get away from self and thought and mind and all that kind of thing, and get into something bigger. So no apologies for the tangent. So okay, I'm going to let this camera hang loose now, so it will shake a little bit if I move around, and I'm starting to steam up, so I need to do something about that. So retroactive jealousy. So I've done over 100 videos on all kinds of aspects of retroactive jealousy, and I've talked about relapse. I want to talk about relapse again, but I want to talk about relapse from the point of view of experiencing relapse after you've been in recovery for a long time, because that's something that's that's come up recently with somebody I've been working with, and it's very distressing, or can be very distressing, because people think, oh no, I thought I'd left all this behind, how come it's come back, so I think essentially there are two main reasons. I think the second reason you can break down into subcategories, but essentially there are two reasons why this might happen. One is that you have been triggered by something, and that's the one I want to break down into different categories. There are different kinds of triggers, so I feel at least one more video coming on, maybe two. And the second one is that you have let your guard down. Okay, so if you have let your guard down, do not give yourself a hard time about that. Do not beat yourself up, because you are, I'm afraid, you are showing all the signs and symptoms of being a human being, and it's just a very human thing. I mean, it's unwise to let your guard down, and it's certainly unwise to let your guard down too quickly. So when I say letting your guard down, there's a model, and I've done a video on this, a very bad video on it, actually, but in terms of the fact that the production value was bad, even by my standards. The content was okay. On something called the cycle of change, which is sometimes called the trans-theoretical model, which is a very pompous kind of title. I'm not going to get into all that there. Check out the video if you can bear it. Actually, do check it out, because it's a good video and it'll be helpful for your retroactive jealousy. What they talk about is different phases of recovery. Essentially, they're talking about change, but I've always used the model to focus on the process of recovery. But it covers any change, not just recovery. And it talks about an action phase and a maintenance phase. Okay, so people think, particularly with addiction as well, people think this. They think that the amount of work that you have to do in order to recover from addiction, that's what it's going to be like for the rest of your life. And some people think, well, I'd rather have the addiction, even though they don't really mean that. Though, of course, on some level they always do, because there's always two parts of a person. When there's an addiction, there's a part of the person that wants the addiction and a part of the person that doesn't, and a battle reigning between the two. But it's not like that. If you put the work in the action stage, then you move into what's called the maintenance stage, and the maintenance stage is much easier. And the maintenance stage is kind of I always use the analogy of a car. If your car is knackered and goes into the garage, and there's a lot of work to be done and a big bill, and your car's there for several days, and you get this horrible kind of list itemized bill at the end, all the things they did. That's action. That's some serious work on your car. That's what you need to do in the early stages of retroactive jealousy recovery. And then you get to a phase where you move into maintenance. And maintenance is much easier. Maintenance is actually, is living a good life. And that's a part of it. And actually living a contented, balanced, healthy, happy life is part of your recovery, is part of your maintenance. But also keeping a watchful eye on your thoughts, which should become habitual in the end, so that it's it's not an effort, it's not something that's onerous and difficult and makes you think, oh, why have I still got to keep doing this? It's not like that. That's not the character of it. But people move from maintenance, and this is all in the cycle of change model, but people move from maintenance back into another phase, which is kind of a denial phase, really. It's like just thinking, oh, I'm better now and I don't need to think about maintenance anymore, because I'm all sorted, and all these nasty things are in the past. So that is where people go wrong. So they can go in this cycle of change. You can kind of you have to do work in every single one of these phases. If you can't really cut corners, so if you miss something out, you end up relapsing and going back around the circle again, which is what happens. It's not a disaster. It's not. It's the norm, really, rather than anything going wrong. It can be avoided. Relapse can always be avoided, but actually relapse is normal. So if you experience relapse after a long time, it's gonna hit you like a ton of bricks, and perhaps the relapse will be worse as well, because you've really let your guard down. So that's the first one. So and then the other one is if you get triggered. Okay, so something comes along. The different kinds of triggers, and we'll talk about that in some more in more depth in another video. But even if you get hit by a trigger, if you are, I think that's really both. I've said that it's either you've let your guard down or you've been hit by a trigger. But really, it's always, if you've been hit by a trigger, it's going to be you've been hit by a trigger and you've let your guard down. So the defences that you normally put into place, that you've learned to put into place when you're in the action phase of your recovery, to deal with triggers, you either probably didn't put them into place, or you put them into place in a bit of a kind of scaled down, limp and soppy version. You didn't really do it properly. You did a half-hearted job of it. Or you did it too late. So what probably happened with the trigger is it got you thinking, and your retroactive jealousy thoughts ran riot, probably for a good old time before you even thought to rein them in. And the more you let them out of the box and play without kind of reining them in, the more embedded they become. So it's harder to rein them in. The sooner you rein them in, the easier it is to rein them in. So that's really what happens with retroactive jealousy after a long gap. The only other possible kind of likely reason, I mean, of course, there could be hundreds of reasons, because people are unique, and they're and we're talking in generalities here. But something that I've talked about in another video called slow death. So if another videos as well where I've talked about secondary gains, there may be a reason why you have allowed yourself to go back into retroactive jealousy active symptoms, and that might be because of intimacy avoidance, or it might be because of some kind of desire to feel superior to your partner, or a whole range of subtle reasons. So I guess it's 3, but letting your guard down is kind of always there. I think whatever is going on for you, you have probably let your guard down. So and that's okay. All you need to do, don't waste any time or energy beating yourself up or criticizing yourself. Put all that energy into getting back on track. And the way to get back on track is, what is it? That's right, the antidote technique. The antidote technique. This retroactive jealousy recovery is boring, really. It's just applying some simple techniques over and over and over. There are lots of additional things you can do. You can approach it from, it's a complex condition, you can approach it from 101 different directions, but the fundamental mechanics of retroactive jealousy recovery are things like the antidote technique, the golden rule, what else? The golden rule, the antidote technique, stop telling your story. Check out the videos. I've got videos on all of these things, okay? Not all of them have lakes and wildlife. I should show you the ducks, actually. I don't know if I can, because we're coming to the end now, I can risk shaking the camera again and removing the thing from its stand. So we're in Aotearoa, deep in the southern hemisphere. And what ducks do we have? European mallards. Much as I love European mallards, that's what we tend to get most commonly here, which is kind of crazy. The colonists brought everything with them, every native species you can imagine. Let's just pan around a little bit, give you a little close up of the island, and pan back. That's not the island, is it? That's the island. I'm losing my bearings when I look through the screen. So I hope that's helpful. I'm probably going to go and make another video now on triggers, so look out for that one. Probably be coming out within the next week or so. Don't give up on yourself if you've got retroactive jealousy. Totally treatable, totally curable. What do I mean by curable? I've done a video on that. Watch the video on what I mean by that. And don't give up on yourself. Don't beat yourself up. It's an illness. You didn't ask for it. You can get well from it. You just need the right help and to give 110%, even when it gets really, really boring. So thank you for listening. If this is helpful, please share this with other people you know that have got retroactive jealousy, or if you're on an online support group for retroactive jealousy, please share this on there. Please tell people, please subscribe, please like us on, join us on Patreon, do all those kind of things are always helpful. And we'll talk to you very, very soon. Get well. You will if you work on it. Rangimarie.